There was once a time when Fisch was king. It was at the very top of the charts, all the time. It was amongst the few games that put even Blox Fruits in its place. At its peak, it would go on to reach almost 1 million active players. But as fate would have it, that would not last. Fisch fell, and it fell fast. A combination of grow a garden and corporate greed brought it to its knees. Out of every popular Roblox game that's ever existed, this one is a contender for having the shortest lifespan of them all. A peak of almost 1 million players to averaging under 10,000. Not even one single year passed before this game went through a whole life cycle. It's been well documented, and everyone has called it quits. But some still wanted Fisch and its formula to survive. They didn't want to let go just yet. Opportunities were still present. The few remaining fishers were looking for somewhere to go. So why not be there for them? Why not give them a brand new safe haven from the evil corporate overlords? Why not make a new game? Or maybe, just maybe, Fisch could be brought back. First, it was Beaks. This was one of those TikTok hype games. If you don't know how these work, a bunch of content creators who have early access to these games post videos about them. This creates hype for the release and brings a ton of people to the Discord server, which gets notified. Upon release, you get a game with a big player count, and it seems incredible. After a few days of playing, you either realize the game is not that bad, or just not that great. In the case of Beaks, it was the latter. This game was hyped up as the Fisch Killer, the game that would replace Fisch. It made sense since this was around the time everyone was abandoning ship and looking for a new one to hop on. Fisch was evil and bad, and this was the game that everyone could migrate to. It's safe to say that it did not fit the bill. One look at the stats will show you that this game did not work. Beaks is incredibly similar to Fisch, but instead of catching fish, you shoot birds. Don't worry though, you're not shooting real bullets, it's just darts. You can craft and purchase darts that do different things and better guns for those darts. The birds spawn in and fly around in specific zones, and they can appear with special mutations and rarities just like the fish in Fisch. There's different locations that have different birds and different obtainable items. It sounds familiar, because it is. This game didn't really do anything new, and it had quite a few issues when it first came out. You'd spot a rare bird just for it to fly into an area with a bunch of people and be brutally killed by a firing squad. Maybe you damaged a bird enough, and then someone comes out of nowhere and snipes the last little bit of HP, making all of your effort pointless. Many liked Fisch because whatever you managed to reel in was all because of you. The person that reeled in the rare fish was the one that got lucky enough, but they still had to put in the effort to not lose it. It wasn't decided by anything else. Someone sniping the bird that you dealt the most damage to at the last second is like someone in Fisch going underwater, ripping a colossal squid right off your hook, and taking it for themselves. It's not fun. None of this was helped by how tedious Beaks was. Trying to shoot the birds was annoying enough, but losing them because they could just ignore the laws of physics? You find a neat bird, attempt to kill it, and it just flies through a hill. What? You find another neat bird, try to kill it, but your shots keep getting blocked by the trees that it's flying straight through. A small chunk of the birds that weren't doing this ended up bugging out instead. They would just become immortal and freeze mid-air. Mobile and console players had the absolute worst possible experience too. There was no lock-on or auto-aim or anything of the sort, so they pretty much couldn't even play the game when it first dropped. They did fix this, as well as the bird stealing problem, but in the process, they made the game way too easy. For some reason, they implemented the most overpowered, unnecessarily good aim assist ever, while also reducing the bullet drop immensely. You can try to miss on purpose, and it will still land. You can't miss a shot. It is impossible unless you look like 180 degrees the other way. Unless there's like some super quick bird that I don't know about. This is just insane. Beaks had an incredibly successful release, and it maintained thousands of players for a few weeks after. If this was truly the Fisch replacement that everyone wanted, they would have stuck with it. But they never did. Interest in this game steadily went down, and now it's here. It rarely breaks 1,000 players, and it hasn't been updated in over a month. In December of 2024, Mr. Nate started working on a different game. I found that to be just a little bit odd, since Do Big was brought in because Fish became too much to manage, and just a month later, you start working on a completely different game? I'm not going to question it, I'm just going to put my tinfoil hat on the desk beside me, I'm not going to wear it. This game that Nate was working on would eventually release to the public on June 28th, and it was called Fish 2.
I think you read the script wrong. Could you read that one more time?
Yeah, sure, my bad. Dig. Instead of fishing, you dig. Instead of fishing rods, you have shovels. Instead of the bestiary, you have the journal. Instead of traveling through the ocean by boat, you travel through land by vehicle. Instead of item weight, you have item age. Instead of bait, you have magnets. Instead of fish, you have completely random objects. You still have mutations, you still have rarity tiers, you still have enchanting, and you still have RNG. Some new features include player stats, charms, and spawnable boss fights. The gameplay is identical to Fish, except the minigame to dig for stuff is just a little bit different. Instead of keeping your bar on the line, the minigame is timing based. You gotta get the progress bar full while making sure that little heart doesn't reach the end. Once you finish, you dig up your item. You then sell the item, dig more, sell more stuff, do quests, and upgrade your gear. Repeat until you get rare stuff, fight some bosses here and there, and that's basically the entire game. The bosses are interesting. To be completely honest, the first thing I thought about when fighting this crab boss was that One Piece game Netflix made a while ago. In Dig, you damage the bosses by digging, and while you're digging, you have to dodge some red circles. It's the exact same thing as that One Piece game, but much more unfun. Having something new is good, but just because it's new doesn't mean it's good.
Talk about the stat system, okay?
Alright. Character stats. There's items you can wear that improve these stats, and they give other buffs as well. This, alongside the backpack system, actually resolves a ton of problems that Fish's inventory system had. Having too many items caused certain issues such as poor performance and being unable to sell anything. In Dig, the backpack has a limit, and if you go over it, your walk speed is lowered. A simple cap would have been annoying, but being able to work with it and around it by using items changes everything. Something weird happened while I was playing. My screen started spazzing out, confetti rained down, and Party in the USA was blasted into my ears without my consent. It took me a few seconds to realize that there was a giant DJ in the ocean, and anybody who's been on Roblox in the past 3 months knows exactly why this is a thing. I made a video about Grow a Garden, and there's one question that I left unanswered. The question of why it's able to reach these insane milestones. People are there for the updates, but the vast majority of the players are there for everything that happens before the updates come out. Somewhere around like 10 minutes before the release, Jandal appears. He talks directly to the players through his admin panel, and then the magic starts. Admin exclusive weathers, insane shop restocks, obbies for special items. The craziest stuff that every player has dreams about happens within that 10 minutes. People get their gardens ready in advance just for this. Imagine all of your biggest plants gaining these insane admin mutations. They'd be worth billions. Every Grow a Garden player in the world is going to be there for the event that happens once per week for a mere 10 minutes. Dig decided to take inspiration from this, and now they do the same kind of thing. Weather conditions, boss fights, and anything else that's considered rare and special can be spawned in. Sometimes they also talk to the player base through their admin panel too. I played Dig for a couple hours in total, and got bored of it very quickly. It does an okay job of bringing back the same feeling Fish gave you when you first arrived, but it does not last long. Fish is really something you can only experience once before it loses all of its magic, and that becomes much more apparent after playing Dig. I knew exactly what my future here would look like, but when it came to Fish, I had no idea. I got to the point of essentially forcing myself to play this game and try to enjoy it, and if I'm doing that, then it's too late. But I wanted to be fair. I wanted to see someone else's perspective. I talked to Red, a guy who actually developed for Fish and was one of the most dedicated people I've ever seen. He was actually there all the way back when I first started, and he assisted me a lot. For him, Dig brings back that feeling Fish had at the beginning, that feeling of relaxation. He likes how it encourages the player to go on an adventure. The absence of overly shiny, flashy shovels is much appreciated, and he likes how there's a bunch of side quests that he can do to make money and level up. They provide a different way to play the game instead of just digging all day. To me, Dig seems like another hype game, instead of a game that grew naturally like Fisch did. It's only been a couple weeks since the release, so it's hard to tell what the future holds for it. But what about Fisch itself? What happened after it started to die? Every day it seemed like there were more people talking about Fisch's downfall than there were people actually playing the game. It was getting to a point, and Big Studios decided to do something. They went ahead and removed stuff that I and many others had complained about. 64 times luck was taken out of the bundles, the prices of the bundles were slashed, and limited skins vanished from the shop. It seemed like they were actually listening to some of the criticism, but you can't celebrate too early. For some reason they just undid all of that a little while later. A few months later, they implemented a system that should have been in the game much earlier. One of my biggest complaints was the lack of a trading option because it made no sense that the dozens of limited items had essentially no real value. They added a trading plaza where you could set up your own booth and trade with others. They made a new currency that adds actual value to your most prized possessions. And you can even auction off your items if you want. Unfortunately, this update was not successful in reviving the game. You can add a trading system, but it's only going to be used by the smaller number of people that still care. During this time, they collaborated with multiple brands like Walmart, Lego, and the Smurfs. They even teamed up with an energy drink company, Tropical Kraken Surge. Reel in a big one with the Madrinas X Fisch Tropical Kraken Surge Charged Refresher. Created in the depths of Atlantis, this delivers a fusion of citrus and tropical flavors that tastes just like a Faha Flask if you replace the F with a B, giving you a boost of energy with 180 milligrams of all-natural caffeine. This low-sugar blend delivers a tidal wave of energy to keep you alert as you catch legendary fish, shake it up and ride the surge. If anybody watching has tried this before, please tell me about your experience in the comments and make sure to leave a 5-star review. Fisch was in a rough state. Sometime later, after all the damage was done, Big dropped out. Kind of. They handed it over to a team that consists of some original developers and contributors, but they still own it. I'm not exactly sure why they did this, but I'm just gonna guess that they did it to save Fisch. Fisch is a much lower chunk of their earnings now, so it wouldn't kill them to hand it over to someone else. To nobody's surprise, it didn't take long for them to start dropping bangers. 64x luck was now gone for good, limited boat advertisements were now completely wiped off the face of the earth, all of the annoying pop-ups are gone, and the free-to-play community is finally being recognized. Fisch is finally free. It's very clear that there's still a ton of people who like the Fisch formula. Just look at Dig. 70,000 players on release isn't close to what Fisch peaked at, but it's still 70,000 people. That's nothing to scoff at. The base may not be as large as it once was, but there's still a base that can be pleased. Dig and Fisch are both in seemingly good care now, so let's hope they deliver for their players. I think I was wrong. I said that Fisch only worked once. Your first experience with it is amazing, and then every other game after it is gonna feel worse. You'll know what your future is, and it's gonna get boring fast. To an extent, I still think this is true. But I've come to realize that every Fisch clone doesn't have to meet the same fate. I don't know how I missed this. I saw prospecting on the front page and wondered what it was, so I checked it out. To my surprise, it was a Fisch clone. What was even more surprising was the fact that it's doing really well. It completely blows Dig out of the water in terms of player count. But how? It's actually different. In this game, you pan for minerals, and there's 2 main tools you use instead of just 1. You have a shovel and a pan. Both can be upgraded to boost performance. You have to fill up your pan with your shovel first by going to a deposit. Getting a perfect fill every time is beneficial as it makes the quality go up. When the quality is higher, you're more likely to get better stuff when you start panning. The actual minigame to pan for minerals never feels like a chore. You simply hold down while the loot is revealed. It's basically impossible to lose, and it's far more satisfying than the minigames in Fisch or Dig. At no point does it ever get tedious or annoying. When you sell your loot, you get enough money to start buying upgrades immediately, and these upgrades actually feel like they're worth it, which makes you keep playing. You go from filling your pan super slowly to filling it much quicker all in the span of 10 minutes. They even took notes from Grow a Garden. You can get this thing called a sluice that gathers stuff for you while you're not playing. I had to look up the pronunciation, and to my surprise, it's actually pronounced like I thought it was. I'm proud of myself. In all honesty, when I tried Dig, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was just playing Fish again, but prospecting felt like a better change of pace, and it was more relaxing. By no means is it revolutionary or anything like that, but at least the concept and gameplay are somewhat different enough to feel like something new. I actually got hooked for a little bit, but I had to stop myself before I got too invested. It's not just this game either. Fish has influenced so many other games because its formula was just that good. The most popular game, not just on the platform, but in the entire world, has taken a considerable amount of inspiration from it. That may or may not have played a part in the decline, as everyone was moving to grow a garden right around the time interest in Fish was taking a downturn. Not every game is destined to last forever, and some games just don't have the right formula to be able to stay afloat for years. But parts of that successful formula can be expanded upon, changed, or improved by other games, which, as we've seen, leads to success. Fish isn't dead, at least for now. Its formula has been set in stone, and it lives on, but only time will tell what the future holds.